Mm-hmm.
Start with it. You should.
We'll give it just a couple more minutes before we get started. All right, since it's 3 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and get started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So what we want to do today is spend a little bit of time walking through the learning management system. When you log into the learning management system, you will see on the right-hand side will be a list of your chapters. Now, what I've done is I have logged into the leadership. So you can see at the top you have all of the leadership chapters, and then below the chapters will be the action plan. When you first log on to the learning management system, in the main page, you'll see some general information as far as video training sections, that if you wanted to view those, you could view those, and they tell you how the system works. In the chapters, you will see you have the ability to play the audio. I'm not going to go real loud with that, but you can play the audio and listen to it online, or you can choose to download the audio. All of the subheadings within each chapter are done in an accordion style. So you can still be facilitating a group of folks, and you could say, everybody do me a favor, and turn to the leadership and you area of your text. So it keeps the information small enough that they can read on screen without having to scroll through a section too much. At the end of each chapter, you have the questionnaire. You can choose to print the questionnaire. You can complete the questionnaire. We can give it a date. I'm just going to go through here and complete the questionnaire. You'll notice when we complete the questionnaire, there is the save button. Make sure you hit the save button, and it will give you the message. Your questionnaire results will be stored in the records section below. Here is where you will find the record section. So what I can do is I can choose to edit current. So I can change my answers and resave it. I can choose to view it. I can print it. So you'll see when you do choose to print it, it's going to give you the question as well as your answer. You also have the discussion questions. The discussion questions are free-flowing, so again, we can put a date to it. And you can type as much information as you need to. It will continue to expand, so there is no limitation to the amount of information that you put into it. So once you save it, again, your answers are going to go down into the record area. This is done purposefully because that way your form will clear, and if a participant wants to come back, revisit, they can always revisit that form and complete it from scratch. So all of your text chapters are set up in this same type of format. And there is a note-taking section, so you may take notes. We can title it Chapter 1. You can even highlight. You can save. And again, when you save, everything will go into your notes. So if your client is working in Chapter 1 and they want to keep all notes for Chapter 1 together, as they are reading, they can save it and then come back to the edit button, and they can continue adding their notes. And when they save it, you'll see it just saves all of the additional information. That's really how your text chapters function. what questions do you have as far as the functionality of the chapters?
Hey, Wendy.
Yes, Bob?
Yeah. So if so a participant, when they get this, they get a code and they log in and they're working out of leadership, and you go through the program.
Mm-hmm.
What do they actually save on their computer? What do they have? Because they don't have a manual
Mm-hmm.
that they were writing in, or a manual that they have on their bookshelf or whatever. What do they actually have that they keep as a somewhat of a permanent record, I guess you would call
Very good question. Any of the forms that they complete,
it?
they can save and print those. This is designed to allow the folks to stay in this process. So as long as they are actively entering the system and they're continually using the system stays live.
Oh, I see. So they just have this exact program, and they can go back because they hear of a topic and they want to read about that, a product of the past or whatever, managing your time. They recall something, they just go right back to it.
Yes.
They basically have it. Okay, I got you. Very good. What are you hearing from affiliates that used quite a number of programs in the past using manuals, and then they try this or they use this, or do they go to this exclusively? What do they find their clients think of it?
Depends on the affiliate. There are some affiliates that just because of their clients, you've got guys that are working in manufacturing. A lot of times, they're going to want the hard copy because they're on the plant floor. Much easier to have their book with them and complete as it makes sense. We do have affiliates that have moved entirely over to the LMS system, and they find it very easy to use. It really comes down to what's going to work best for your client. If you're working with younger people, what's a book?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm.
So having said that, there are affiliates that, they work with folks that are on the move all the time. Easier to, they always have their laptop with them, so it's easier just to have everything, internet based, so that they don't have to worry about carrying anything else with them in addition to, the laptop that is a, job requirement.
Gotcha.
What's really nice about this is, as I said, I'm showing you the leadership, but you can also customize just like you do in hard copy. So as an example, if this was a customized program and we wanted to add strategic leadership from executive leadership to here, it would appear as one of the chapter titles in the order that you wanted it to appear in. So let's say you wanted it to be after building success attitudes and habits. That would be the next one on the list. So you can still mix and match like you were able to do with hard copy. You can do it just as easily with the LMS version as well. The action plan, and you'll see, again, it's set up very similar to the hard copy. You still have the colored tabs, and you can still refer to in your red section. You still have the note-taking section. In the dream inventory, again, if I was working on my dream inventory for today, I could save it. See how the form is going to clear at the top? But all of my records are saved down in the 4/29 date. So I can go in and I can modify it. And you can see how it's adding to my list. You still have the yellow life wheel areas, and again, we kept it yellow. set up very similar. So again, if they're completing their mental development, I would choose the date. Just like we do in the hard copy, we would answer the questions. Once we complete the questions, we can come over here and identify it. Is it a strength? Is it a potential strength? Is it a weakness? When I save this, it will be added into my notes area. I can modify it or I can print it. And you'll see it does give you the question as well as your answer and which you selected, strength, potential strength, or weakness. It does work on desktops, laptops, tablets. For completing of the action plan, I would say when you get down to a phone, that's going to be a little tough to view and complete on a phone just because of the complexity of the questionnaires. It's a little bit harder to see on that, small, tiny screen. But it does work on tablets, desktops, laptops. All of that works very well. So you see it has your past achievements area. So, I can type in. I can also add achievements, and it will continue to add additional achievements. When I save that, everything goes down into my record category. The Where I Stand Now, just like in your hard copy, it's more of a free-flowing, allows you to write as little or as much as you want. Again, this is free-flowing. It's going to continue to expand and allow you to type as much information as you'd like. And you can see it's going to all be housed right there. If I wanted to create a goal category, I can add a category. I can always go in and modify that category as well. Make sense so far? So your mental, social, physical, financial career. I want to show you the financial career because this is where we ask them a little bit about expenses. So rather than dictating what are the expenses, you'll see we have it listed as expense A through F. So they could very clearly type in. But here, what's really nice is you'll see it's totaling up for me.
Yeah.
So it does the calculation for you, so you don't have to worry about that.
So is this the individuals or the company when you look at the, if you're doing this on a work laptop or something, can you drop it to like one file and take it to your home, or is there any way to do that?
No, what this is it's a web-based technology. So they're going to go to, and you'll see up here, TA Network, LMS.com. So they're going to go to that website. They will each have their own username and password.
Yep, I got you.
Everybody gets their personal username and password because the personal sections, they do not have to share any of that information with anyone else. So only they have access to their information.
Got it.
Okay.
So it is fully portable.
Yeah, because you can log in
You
from
can
any, as
always,
long as you
yeah.
have internet connection, you can log in from anywhere.
Mhm.
So in the goal planning area, again, that's the blue area in your action plan. You'll see setting goals and establishing priorities. You can determine your date. You can say what area from it is. We'll do physical and exercise 3 times per week. You can even give it a priority and save it. And right there's my goal that I created.
Mhm.
To complete your goal planning sheets, I could put my target date. You see, you can click through, create my affirmations. Okay, I can create my obstacles. And what you can see is you can add an entire group. Because remember, when we talk about goal planning, it is generally never the first 3 obstacles that are going to get in our way. It tends to be the 7th or 8th.
Mhm.
So I encourage you, think about your obstacles. When you get to another obstacle, add another one that you can still follow the same process of going down and listing your obstacles. And then once you have your obstacles listed, you can move to the right. What are the possible solutions, the necessary action steps, dates, and whether or not I can delegate. All of your goal planning sheets are saved into the record saving area as well.
Mhm.
Then we move into the organizational goals area. Into the position description. You'll see it set up very similar to all of the questionnaires that you have hard copy.
Mhm.
The green action plan sections, the one thing that I wanted to point out is the time matrix. The time matrix, we can put the date to it. You can say the day of the week that it is. You can list your task. You can add additional groups. So we can do phone, we can do meetings. You can enter how long it takes you to do something in your categories. It saves it. So that you can see the amount of time that you're spending, and it will total up your minutes. When you get to the time summary, what's really nice is it will convert your minutes, because this is done by minutes up here.
Mhm.
It'll give you the total minutes. And here's a nice little handy dandy, type in the total minutes and it will convert it to hours for you.
Okay.
So it lets you see how much time you are spending. So it's slightly different. This functions slightly different than it does in the hard copy where you have to physically, manually do all of those calculations. This will do it for you. We also have the goals summary, which is set up. I don't have a goal in there, but it will pull the goal. If you have the goal planning set up, it'll pull the goal and you can add your information to it and save it, and it will again go down in your answer key. Same thing with your goals accomplished. If you've accomplished the goal, you can type in the goals the goal that was accomplished. You can save it, and then you'll have your list of all your accomplished records down in the record keeping area. What's really nice about the LMS system is you can be working with a group, and some choose to have hard copy, some choose to have the LMS. You can still say, you know, turn to mental development, and both sides can find it very easily. They can print out completed questionnaires. So if they didn't have their laptop with them or they chose to print it out, they have a copy of anything that they completed. They can download the audio. You know, lots of folks are downloading it to their phones and they're listening to that as they're doing their exercise. That's really how the LMS system works. What I'd like to do is open it up to the folks on the call and say, what specific questions do you have that I can answer to allow you to feel more comfortable using this with your clients?
So Wendy, I mentioned to you the young couple I have, and they're doing it's a startup. So I have an engagement with them, and I want to do the ELST and then also coaching. And what I see with this now, so they're like 23, 24. So I think they're going to want to do this. But what I see is with the LST, we could be going through and basically building their business plan right with, you know, as we go through the whole ELST. Because some of it now, what we're having to do is, you know, write stuff. But I need to just have them do that. In that case, it's a couple. They would have just one ELST program, but then the coaching, I would do those individually and have two. Or what do you think?
There's a couple different ways to do it.
Okay.
If you have multiple folks, what we suggest is for strategic planning, because there is some prep work that we ask them to do, complete some of this stuff, especially if you have a team. Good for every person to have their own so that they can do their initial thoughts. But then what does happen at the end is we need to compile all of that information into one master. So oftentimes what we suggest is let folks have their own user pass, so get one for each of them, but then have a master copy where everyone has
that goes into that.
See that information, because as an example, come up with some thoughts for your vision statement. You know, they can all do a lot of their own internal processing, and then you get the group together and say, okay, what do we want our finalized vision statement to be? You know, what are the overall critical goal categories for the organization?
Okay. And then they would, as they develop things, they can print what they want and have hard copies of it.
Yes.
And then as long as what do they have to do? They have to be how active to keep this going?
As long as they're in the system.
Okay.
We'll see, and we do periodic checks. If somebody hasn't been using the system for, 6 months, that's where we'll reach out to you and say, hey, Bob, just so you know, notice Wendy hasn't been in her system for the last, 6 months. You can then say, okay, let me reach out to Wendy. I can do a check-in call with her. Or you may say, oh, Wendy's moved on from that company, she's no longer there, you can turn it off.
Okay.
So we put that back
Yeah.
in your hands and give you some ability to either reach back out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
It's very easy to use. It just allows folks to look at things differently.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, everything that's covered in hard copy is covered in the LMS system. There's no shortcuts. There's nothing missing,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you can facilitate a group that has hard copy or this the same way very easily. What other questions on the LMS system?
So as long as they can log in, they can get at it, right?
Correct.
They have to be able to.
And if for some reason they would forget their user password, you can always have them reach out to us, and we can't tell them what their user password was, but what we can do is reset it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see they have the help desk here. If something isn't functioning, they can submit something and we'll get back to them. We check this on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. And the security and privacy and all that's not any issue. You've got good certificates for that or whatever.
Yep, and you can, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be.
So it's very easy to modify, customize, mix and match chapters. If you are using the LMS system, what we need to know from you is their first name, their last name, email address.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'll do is we'll set it up. Affiliates can tell us when they would like us to send the access information. As an example, one of our affiliates always likes us to send the access information when he's doing the kickoff with the group.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we'll send it at that point in time because he doesn't want people getting into the system prior to that. Other folks say, get it set up and send it, you're good. But you can let us know what's most convenient for you. And then we send them an email saying, we have the subject line is your process with, in this case, Bob Kinney. Mm-hmm. Here's the website, here's your user, here's your pass. We do say if you have any questions, please reach out to Bob. But we're always here in case somebody needs some help from a technical point. One thing that we do encourage, and this is just a little important thing for you to know, is if they do really want to be using the latest browser,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
right.
if they're using something that is so far out of date, it may not function just because of the browser, nothing to do with our system. But our system does update with the browsers and those types of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is you want to make sure, and if they do not log out after a period of time, the system will automatically log them out. And you don't want to log in. You mentioned if it's a work computer and then I go home,
mm-hmm.
make sure you log out of it at work so that when you go home, it's logged out. Because if the system does recognize that there could be more than one login, it's not going to function because that's a security precaution.
Yeah, it's very it's good. I can see a big advantage especially if I had like these two, if they were doing the ELST and coaching, and they're on a long trip right now, international, and they could have their laptops and they could be reading chapters, they could be looking at the audio, they could be looking at opportunities and threats and their business plan of ELST. there's a lot versus they're not going to take 2 binders in the
Right.
Yep. You know what I mean? They're just not going to do that.
It's just not as easy.
Yeah.
And you'll see as you look at the graphics are the same as you have in your text as well. So there's, we keep that consistency throughout.
Yeah.
Those should look familiar. Here's a great example. In this chapter, in the middle of the chapter, there's a graphic there that we ask them some questions, and they have lines in the hard copy to write their answers. Well, in here, they now have a form so that they can write their answers. They can type in their answers just like they would in the hard copy. So you don't lose any of that functionality.
Yeah.
Again, we save it. And there's our answers from today. If you want, and this is an option, and some affiliates do this, some affiliates don't, your logo could be added right to here, right above the chapters, if you wanted that as well. Just play a little brief audio. I'll turn it down. Fast forward a little bit. So very easy to listen to the audio. It's one click.
So they both did the advanced insights. So then you can take those relevant sections in that and work them into this.
Yep, absolutely, because you'll have the personal life wheel sections.
Yeah.
As well as your organizational life wheel sections that correspond to those areas.
Yeah.
There are times, and just so everyone knows, it's not like it has to be hard copy or LMS, one or the other. We do have some folks that prefer to do hard copy text. They'll do streaming audio and the action plan in the LMS system. Because the participants want to complete the information online. They prefer typing versus the writing.
Sure.
And yet to read, they prefer to read hard copy. So that's another option. So it's one way or the other. You can mix and match as well.
Yeah, I keep thinking when I read something that I'm really learning from, I'm highlighting and scribbling. But when I see this, there are a lot of really neat advantages to it. Especially in terms of an ongoing process. Here's where I do my annual goals. Here's where I look back and see how I've been doing. Time to set new personal goals or new whatever,
Absolutely.
As an ongoing, and then you've got tremendous value as you're using this over years,
Yep. A couple of our affiliates have also done where they start out with just a few chapters and the action plan. And then what they do is as they work with the client, they'll say, okay, to Wendy Howland, I'd like you to add strategic leadership and creating the best culture. So we can add them as you go. Now, there's one caveat to that. If you are doing an organization and you want everyone to have the same stuff, then everybody needs to have the same stuff. So if you add it to one, you're adding it to all of them. If it's an individual coaching, you can certainly, add it per user. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all designed at one time. You can add. What other questions?
It's real good.
Okay. One of the things that we have also set up, and you may want to jot this down, if you'd like to play around in the system, we do have the demo.
Mhm.
And the web address is the TA Network, LMS.com. The user name is affiliate with a capital A.
Mhm.
Your password, all lowercase, demo, DEMO.
Okay.
Because oftentimes we find what's really nice is being able to get in there and play with the functionality and see how it works. The biggest thing to remember where your customers could ask or say, I entered stuff and it went away. Just remember, whenever they complete any type of form, as soon as they hit the save button, it goes into a record area.
Mhm.
So all of their saved information is below. They didn't lose anything. The form clears so they can always complete it again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mhm.
Most of the forms do have the sidebars here, so you can always access everything on the right-hand menu bar.
Mhm.
You may need to scroll a little bit depending upon the size of your computer, but they're always over here on the right-hand side. And as you can see in your text chapters, your audio will always be first thing underneath the header.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Not for me. Mhm.
All right. And if there's no other questions, I will not keep you on the phone longer than necessary. Take some time and play around in the system. And if you have any questions, reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me an email, and I can answer any questions that you have. But it's a pretty nice system, works really well for participants. It
Mhm.
really depends on their style preference.
Right. Mhm.
Okay?
Very good.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Wendy.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.